Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband News and some breaking news today. Secretary Howard Lutnick, Secretary of the Commerce Department, who has had Bead on the Bead program on a hold. He's wanted to do what he called a rigorous review. And last thing we heard was they were going to be possibly sending some new guidance out this summer, June, July. Well, he was in a subcommittee hearing today, and a couple of senators asked him about Bead. And he was saying that all funding would be out before the end of the year. In fact, he said they're going to be on a very tight time frame. If you may realize, or you may know, that they gave states a 90-day kind of a reprieve on getting their final proposals in because of this delay that he's been doing. So states had basically it was a year from the time they got their initial proposal in to when they needed to get their final proposal in. And they granted a 90-day extension to that. So basically the timeline he's looking at, I believe, if he's talking about getting it out by the end of the year, is that the new guidance will be coming out here very shortly. I wouldn't be surprised if it's middle of this month to early to mid next month at the latest, because there's going to be a 90-day period when states have to get in their final proposals. And then what he promised was that the NTIA will turn those around in 90 days. So if you look at that, that's basically 6 months, and you're looking at basically the end of the year. By December, the funds would be out. So I've got some video here that I'm going to show you where he talks about this. In fact, I'm going to show that now, I guess, and I'll jump in here and comment on it. But he's got basically questions from three senators that are coming up here. So he's got a question from Senator, who was it? I know there's Senator Moran in there. Well, we'll see the names on their plates as we come up here. So here's some video of the three senators that have been asking him questions.
Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Nice to see you. I appreciate the review that you're doing.
Yeah. So this is Senator Fisher from Nebraska. So she's a Republican. So she's got some interesting comments here. So you hear from the Republicans, they're being a little bit more careful in how they present their questions. I think they all want the Bead program to go forward the way it was, and you'll hear that in their questions, in that they don't want any major changes. They want to make sure that there's not going to be any further delays. She'll mention the work that's been put in by all of the service providers in her state. So let's listen in.
And the department over the programs that you have there, and as you try to make taxpayer dollars be spent efficiently. Looking at broadband programs, the broadband funding map continues to be a major priority of mine. The map tracks all federal dollars being used for broadband deployment, as you know, and the goal is to avoid redundant overbuilding and wasteful funding. However, we have had issues with agencies that do not collect or report this data consistently, if at all. By law, NTIA has a key role to collect this data from federal agencies, in addition to submitting their own program data to the FCC, which houses the maps. Will you commit to prioritizing NTIA's work to support the broadband funding map and ensure that these dollars are optimized?
Sounds smart, yes.
Thank you. Are there any other areas where you think that NTIA's broadband programs can maximize funding to make sure that they meet the intended purposes?
We are hard at work rigorously pursuing the details of NTIA to make sure it can be the most efficient and effective along the lines that you were discussing about telecommunications, both access and capacity for growth in America.
You and I have talked about the Bead program in the past, and I know you have your work cut out for you in reviewing that program, especially with all the red tape that the Biden administration created for that program. Do you have any idea on the timing for revising those Bead program rules?
Yeah, so my expectation is we will put out the Notice of Funding Opportunity, the NOFO, shortly. And then we would expect everyone to apply within 90 days. We're going to hold it hard at 90 days. And then I'm going to hold my department firm that within 90 days, if those applications are done without regard to favoring one technology over the other, just make sure we're giving the benefit of the bargain. What's the cheapest way to get broadband to these people, the most efficient way to do it? If they make that application, we will make all awards by the end of this year.
So that's interesting. So, he said as long as the states make sure that it's technology neutral, not favoring any technology. But then again, he says something that he said in the past, where it's the cheapest, most efficient way possible. So fiber is not always going to be the cheapest, most efficient way possible, but it is by far the best way possible, assuming that you have the funding, that your state has the funding to be able to deploy fiber in as many locations as possible. What each state wants to do is maximize the amount of fiber that they can deploy, and then from there look at alternative technologies. And the Bead program's always been set up like that, and over time the NTIA has clarified and provided guidance on how they can use satellite, and there's options for fixed wireless. Current notice of funding opportunity is licensed fixed wireless, or a combination of licensed and unlicensed fixed wireless, or licensed by rule, which would be CBRS. So there's alternate technologies in there. It's already technology neutral from that perspective, but there is a preference for fiber. So it'll be interesting to see with the new guidance and the new notice of funding opportunity if there's any change to the preference of fiber that would force states to maybe consider a cheaper alternative that's not the best alternative for the customers that would be getting the broadband in that state, and frankly for the country if we have to go back to the well in 5 or 10 years because we funded satellite when we could have funded fiber now, and then we have to go back and fund something else because satellite can't keep up with the demand.
You had the Biden administration sitting on it for 30 months, right? And you're going to watch us distribute the money and get it out the door, provided the applications are, let's say, technologically agnostic. Just do the right thing for the American people. Let's get the broadband to the people for the most efficient way, and we will put out the money.
That's a little disingenuous saying that the Biden's department's been sitting on it for that long, because while they put things in the bill, as the senator mentioned, things in the bill that shouldn't be in there, a lot of red tape and frankly a lot of pet projects, environmental kinds of things, workforce requirements, and other things that are not related to broadband that did delay things. There was a lot that had to be done, including the broadband maps, and it was very important that the broadband maps be created that would be down to the every single location as to whether it has broadband or should have broadband, and does it have broadband today. That needed to be all put in place. We want to make sure that we did it right. So he's kind of making it sound like, oh, they took all of this time, these years to not get anything done, and now we're going to get it done in, by the end of the year. 90 days for the states to do their part, 90 days for us, and it'll be done. Well, he wouldn't be able to do all of that if we hadn't gone through this whole process of again, the creation of the broadband map and the initial creation of the notice of funding opportunity, having all the states go through the application process. Maybe there were some delays in there, but it's a little disingenuous what he's saying there as far as the amount of time and the delays.
I'm excited to see broadband deployment take place to areas that receive no service. We have a number of companies in Nebraska that are able to do that through the Universal Service Fund, through the Bead program, to be able to get that connectivity out to these very sparsely populated areas. There's a vastness to my state as to others here. To be able to have that happen, the mapping, back to the mapping, is extremely important, but also to recognize, I think, the investment that many of these companies in my state and in other states have made and have been required to make. So I hope you will take that into consideration as you look at reaching these unserved areas, primarily unserved areas that need to be focused on. Will you commit to working with many of us here that face those obstacles in order to make those opportunities available to our citizens?
I'd be delighted to work with you, so I understand your concerns and that we focus on them.
Great.
So, again, she's bringing up the issue of all of the companies in her state that have looked at, maybe put in applications or in the process of putting applications. And a lot of those would be putting in applications for fiber, because, again, that is the future-proof technology that we have today, can vastly outperform anything that we have today as far as broadband, and will into the future. Even if satellite, even if they put bigger satellites up there and they can do higher, download and upload speeds, it's not going to keep up with satellite. So she's making a really good point there. And again, so we'll have to see what happens with this new notice of funding opportunity that's coming out.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Fisher, thank you. I'm going to follow up, Mr. Secretary, and just make a point to your response to Senator Fisher's question about the Bead program. We have many small companies in Kansas and across the country who've applied for Bead grants. They've done through their state office. And I hope they don't have to reapply again, refill out the application that they've spent a lot of time and money preparing and has been filed and approved with the state already. So we certainly need the reforms and changes to the criteria, but there's a very expensive process they've been through once before. So please take a look at how you expect a reapplication. That makes sense?
Yes. Remember, the key point for me is that the American people get the benefit of the bargain, and we're focused on getting rid of the stuff that's not broadband access, so just all that sort of noise and other.
So there he's talking about some of those things that are not related to broadband, as he calls noise. So again, he's speaking here now to Senator Moran from Kansas, again, a Republican. So this would be something that Republicans would be interested in, would be getting the the stuff that's not broadband related out, but I think they all still want to have a fiber preference in there.
Things, and then literally, as long as the application is technologically agnostic, meaning does it matter if it's fixed wireless or fiber? The answer should be whatever's the most efficient way to solve that. I want to do that, and we will get the money out the door by the end of the year.
Nothing you said do I disagree with. In fact, I agree with fully. Just trying to point out there's a bureaucracy that's taken place in the past that we do not want you to replicate.
I will try to reduce it. I promise that is my objective. I will definitely try to reduce it.
So, again, he's trying to make sure that the bureaucracy is limited, trying to take out some of the onerous kinds of things that are in there that, and some of those things, it was a reason that subgrantees would maybe not want to bid is because they were looking at all the hoops they have to jump through, especially some of these things that are not related to broadband, and decided, hey, we really don't want to get involved in this. And it was making it more difficult in the states. So I think that's a good idea. Here you've got, I think I believe that's his nameplate, Senator Peters. He's from Michigan, a Democrat. So he's going to ask the question as well. You can hear a slightly different tone here as he speaks.
One of Congress's biggest bipartisan achievements, I think, over the past few years was the passage of the Bead program, which gives funds to individual states to connect every citizen to the fastest, the most reliable internet that's possible. Right now, your department is slowing down these broadband projects and has a 90-day freeze. States are ready to move forward. Michigan's ready to move forward. Broadband providers are standing by, and the summer construction season is already underway, and it's a short season in Michigan, particularly in the northern parts. Unfortunately, you've indicated your department is planning to release new rules that would force states to restart their bidding process and tell states that they can't choose which are the best performing broadband technologies for their individual community. You said that you care about efficiency. I appreciate that. But let's be clear, forcing states to start a process over would waste millions of dollars, add months, potentially years of delays to shovel-ready broadband projects that are ready to go this summer, especially in states like Michigan with a short building season. Millions of Americans, including over 250,000 Michigan households, are on the brink of receiving low-cost, high-speed internet. And your department, I believe, shouldn't stand in the way of this. So, again, another yes or no question. Do you agree that it would be a huge waste of money and a disservice to Americans who need reliable internet service to restart a bidding and proposal process?
No, the Biden administration had 30 months and they did nothing. We are going to say within the next 90 days, as long as you are technologically agnostic and you agree to provide the broadband at the cheapest price per user, then we will get it 90 days for application and out the door by the end of calendar year 2025. 30 months under Biden, no funding. 100% under Trump administration by the end of 2025. That's impressive. And you should at least agree if we get it all out by the end of 2025, that'd be super.
Well, we'd like to have a faster than a 90-day process. The states have been working on this for some time. The state of Michigan is there. It is technology neutral, so that is something that you've talked about.
Then it should be easy.
And it should be easy.
Right. If they're technologically neutral, it'll go like that.
Well, can I work with you to get that done for Michigan?
Sounds great. I'm happy to do that.
Great. Thank you. That's super. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I think I had that video speeded up, that whole series. So sorry about that if it was a little bit fast for you. But so he makes some good points. Again, you could hear a little difference in the tone, but he makes the point of the fact that really it's the states that should be deciding what the best technology is to be able to reach all of these subscribers that they have in their area, these potential subscribers to broadband. So I think they're all good comments. What I was surprised was nobody mentioned the F word, the fiber word, if you will, because I really thought, if I had been on the panel, I would have been making that point that, fiber is really what should be the preference, although, again, it needs to be technology neutral from the standpoint of if you cannot afford the fiber, if it doesn't make economic sense to do that, if you cannot cover everybody in your state with fiber, then you've got to find out where that line is to be able to cover everybody as many people in your state with fiber and the rest with an alternative technology. But technology neutral is a bad idea if you are putting fiber and fixed wireless and satellite all on an equal playing field and saying, we're going to go with the most efficient, cheapest one. And when I hear Lutnick say most efficient and cheapest, I'm always concerned about what they're going to come out with. And again, as I said a few months ago, when he started saying he was going to do this review, I certainly hope that he's got people that know more about broadband, more about the technologies and what can be done with them and how far into the future they will serve Americans that get them. I hope he's got somebody has his ear that's talking about those kinds of things. I've been pretty confident that's going to be the case, that they're not going to make a stupid decision. And if they do, they're certainly going to hear about it from more than just Democrats in Congress. It's going to be Republicans as well, because there's no need to put this on delay anymore. If they want to take out some of the onerous kinds of requirements, that's a good thing, because that will provide actually more money for broadband. If you're not having to worry about so much, a lot of that's kind of already had to be thought about. But if you're not having to worry about environmental stuff, and you can look at more efficient ways for training your workforce and getting workforce in place, those kinds of things that will help reduce costs, and there's more money that can go towards actually deploying broadband. So that was one of the problems with the initial program, was there was too much being spent on things that were not really related to getting to the goal of the program, which is to get broadband in place so that every single American that should have broadband can get access to broadband. Now, whether or not they want it, that's another thing that I've always had a problem with. If somebody doesn't want it, you can't force them to take it, right? You can't force somebody to take broadband, as long as they have access to it. And it's broadband. The equity part is a problem. A lot of that's been taken out. Deployment and broadband equity access. You want to have access and deployment, and you want it to be affordable for folks. So it would be good if it's affordable. There are some low cost kinds of things that are in there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. There are low cost requirements, and I'm not sure if their review of this is going to ease some of those requirements on service providers, because that is an issue where it's, and they were leaving it up to the states, but it is an issue where each state, not only each state, but each area of a state is going to have different challenges as far as what broadband is going to cost a service provider. So if they're in a very dense area and they have the opportunity for more customers, I shouldn't say very dense, because a lot of this is in unserved areas, but if they're in let's say a town that doesn't have good broadband today, but there are people relatively close by, and you don't have to drive a truck for miles and miles and miles to get from one customer to the other, that's going to be less expensive to deploy as well as to maintain, let's say, than in Alaska, where you've got these far off areas. And what would be a low cost product in Alaska is going to be very different from what might be a low cost product in New Hampshire, because it's just going to be much more expensive to deploy the broadband there and then to operate it over those, let's say, vast areas with fewer people to help pay for it, right? Because that's part of it. You got to make, these companies have got to make a return on their investment. So they've got to be able to charge enough where they're not giving it away for free, and certainly not where they're losing money every month on a subscriber. That's not fair to the business, and that's not the way that we need to be doing things. So thanks for joining me. Hopefully this was something that was helpful for you. I tried to get those, just the videos that were pertinent, that were about the Bead program, but there is a link in the description if you want to watch the whole thing. It's not all about broadband. It's about all kinds of other stuff, but I wanted to get the pertinent clips there about the Bead program so you had a chance to look at that. So hopefully that was helpful. If so, give me a like on the video. I'd like that. And if you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, ring the little bell there to be notified when I'm live. And I will see you next time for Broadband News. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.